and they will seize control over the conversation, and they will use that to their advantage, and they will win on this issue. Okay? But the Democrats were too fearful because they saw the one poll that says 66% of Americans want mass deportations, and they were like, well, okay, we're the mass deportation party ourselves now. Oh, I'm going to give you another thing. Because another HasanAbi lock of the century also took place in this campaign with Spamberger and with Sherrill as well, but especially with Spamberger in Virginia. They pumped the VA markets with a ton of anti-trans ads, and it fell flat. They spammed the anti-trans burgers. They spammed it. What happened? Why did it fail? I thought Americans were ready to fucking send the trans people to the camps. What happened? Why did it work so successfully against Kamala Harris, as everyone was saying? Oh, we got to just cut the trans people out, man. It's too small of a population. It's too vulnerable of a population. Everybody hates trans people. We have to be openly anti-trans, they said. What happened? What happened? All of the anti-trans ads fell short. Why? Because people were so mad at Trump that they did not give up. Because when your pockets are hurting and you're seeing mass chaos and instability, you realize maybe it wasn't trans people that were causing all of that frustration. Okay? And that's why I always said trans issues only become a consequential problem if you have nothing that you're offering as an alternative, or if the people are not primed against the Republicans in power and are directly holding them responsible for their economic struggles in this moment. That's it. If the trans panic stuff works so successfully, there would be Republican governors in both of these states right now. Okay? Democrats actually are throwing trans people under the bus, not by saying that they're going to write off trans people. I mean, that's obvious. But they're throwing trans people under the bus by not having a campaign in the affirmative, by not saying, we're going to offer you shit. Because if Democrats were coming out and being like, we're going to offer you stuff, affordability is a major problem, we're going to solve it, we're going to fix it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, fast and free buses, yada, yada, whatever you want to call it, whatever localized issues exist, right? Whatever localized issues that exist in that state or in that local race, if you address those problems, you force your opposition to counter those problems. Okay? That's how it works. It's basically game theory. This is why I kept saying over and over and over again that Donald Trump banned transgender athletes. 49 transgender athletes were barred from competing at the collegiate level. And I kept telling you over and over again, he did it. Do you feel better? He did it. Republicans, transphobes, he did it. Do you feel like life is more affordable? Do you feel like your boss ain't you over? Do you feel like rent is cheaper now? No. But I thought that everything was going to be solved if we just got rid of these trans people. What happened? Are things better now? No, because it was a distraction. It always is a distraction. It's a very violent one for trans people, obviously, but it's a distraction nonetheless. So you have to actually offer people, if you are the Democratic Party, you actually have to offer people class first politics, class first policy, because the working class is the largest number of voters, is the largest percentage of voters. It makes no sense to segment it out. I never will understand it. Think about it from the perspective of, if you're looking at New York, people who take the bus or people who take the train, commuters versus people who drive cars. There are more people in New York City that take the bus or take the subways and take public transit than there are people who drive cars. So target those guys. There are more people in New York City that rent than own their own apartments. So target those people. You don't have to win everybody over. You just have to win the majority. That's how you win elections in a democracy. And for some weird reason, Democrats don't want to do that. And they want to act as though they are trying to defend trans people. And the only way to defend trans people is if you just unconditionally let us win. If you unconditionally give us your vote, we don't have to earn it. We just have to get it from you. Otherwise, it's these demons that are going to win the race. And while that is true, and that Republicans are obviously always going to be far worse, you can't win elections that way. Yep, here it is. Republicans went all in on anti-trans messaging for the 2025 election, inspired by Trump's Kamala is for they, them ad. It didn't work. And now they're trying to figure out why. Democrats, meanwhile, learn how to respond to this messaging. I wonder why. Because you cannot out-yap people's pockets hurting, okay? That's it. You cannot out-yap people's pockets hurting. Doesn't matter. You could be the greatest yapper of all time. Trump is pretty good. He's pretty charismatic, even though he's been snoozing a lot more recently. But he can't do it either. And if he can't do it, you definitely can't. He keeps trying to offer red meat to the base to be like, look over here. Come on, we're Venezuela. Point to that. We're doing a shutdown. We're going to starve the people. Okay, you're making it worse now. You're making things worse. People are suffering. You cannot yap your way out of a recession. You cannot yap your way out of people going as long as it did in the past. You cannot out-yap people. You cannot out-yap against people's real economic struggles. Okay? In Virginia and New Jersey, both Winsome Earl Sears and Jack Citarelli made transition a key part of their campaign, only to be defeated by their Democratic opponents, Abigail Spanberger and Mickey Sherrill. For some, the problem was not the issue itself, but the candidates that were delivering the message. Sean Spicer, former chief strategist for the Republican National Committee and White House press secretary, told Not Us that over text that antitrust messaging is probably 80-20, meaning he believes most people support the Republican position. But that was not the issue, and racist Spicer said, candidates matter, campaigns matter. He added, the Republicans need to be reminded. That's bullshit. Oh, a more charismatic anti-trans advocate would actually win this race? Fuck no, he wouldn't. Okay? No shot. They wouldn't. Because every Republican around the country is now attached to the hip to Donald Trump. And everybody hates Donald Trump. Why do they hate Donald Trump? Because he ran on a campaign offering to fix the affordability crisis and then only focused on issues that actually made the affordability crisis worse. Started deporting people that are actually keeping prices relatively low by working for pennies on the dollar. He said he was going to take out all the criminal migrants, all the scary criminals. What happened? Why is ICE waiting outside of courthouses for undocumented migrants that are in legal limbo on their immigration status that have just simply been working here? Where are the criminal migrants outside of daycares? Where are the criminal migrants outside of churches? Where are the criminal migrants outside of schools? Where are they outside of farms? No, doesn't exist. It was a lie. This also goes back to the same thing that I say all the time. Democrats need to be counter-messaging all the time. They need to be messaging all the time. They need to be counter-messaging all the time. They need to be campaigning year-round as the Republicans do. But they don't. They don't. They rely on people's morality, causing them to see, causing them to see the light one day. And that doesn't happen. It's ineffective. James Blair, White House Deputy Chief of Staff and former political director of Trump's 2024 campaign, however, told Politico that it was both gubernatorial candidates, particularly Earl Sears, misreading voters' priorities. Over half of Winsome Sears' ads talked about transgender. It's not even the top 5 issues, according to voters, Blair said. Terry Schilling, president of the Conservative American Principles Project, which spent $2.5 million in New Jersey and Virginia to expose radical Democrat support for gender insanity, told Not Us that the issue was the states in play. Oh, it's because they were solidly blue. Yeah, I mean, I said this already. People got real pissed off about this.
Hey, and there were people that genuinely believed that Donald Trump was actually excising the violent criminals. And the only reason why people are led to believe this lie, aside from that comes from independent outlets on the right and also Fox News as well, is because there is no robust response from the Democratic Party that says that's a lie. That's a lie. Undocumented migrants in this country are responsible for a lower rate of per capita crime than natural-born U.S. citizens are. If you pair that up with documented migrants, it's negligible. It is marginal, and they're hyper-focusing on it specifically because this is a vulnerable population that is easy to target and it's easy to ridicule, and there is not enough of a robust defense mechanism out there. Yeah. And that's the reason why people end up believing this bullshit, and then they get shocked when it's actually implemented. I talk to those people.
This guy is cooking. You said Biden wasn't doing enough in 2021. Yes. Another thing that I am so frustrated with, like the centrist liberals that saw this, and then we're like, "Well, you're wrong," or "Oh, you said Kamala was going to be the same," or whatever. Like all these other misdirections is like, no, dumbass. This was one of the major issues that I have been screaming about for years and years and years, saying Democrats need to constantly deliver a robust counter messaging on the faucet of hatred that's coming out of the Republicans, the faucet of misinformation that's coming out of the Republican Party. And if they don't do that, the Republicans will actually seize control over the conversation, and they will seize control over the conversation, and they will use that to their advantage, and they will win on this issue. Okay? But the Democrats were too fearful because they saw the one poll that says 66% of Americans want mass deportations, and they were like, well, okay, we're the mass deportation party ourselves now. It's ridiculous. But yeah, here it was. Guy who did absolutely nothing to push back on Trump's mass deportation push other than both sides in the election when we had a chance to actually stop it, has thoughts on a robust response. God, crooked media bros suck so much shit. I was shocked. I thought centrist Twitter would be in favor of crooked media. I thought, because from where I'm standing, crooked media is like way closer to centrists than I am. And it turns out there are people out there who are just like straight up, people who are just straight up like, no, I'm more centrist than crooked media. Who is that for? Who do you represent? I mean, absolutely nobody, you know? Bro, Kamala deadass said that at the DNC she would be tougher on immigration than Trump. Deadass. Yeah.
Your strong suit, right?
Yeah, this is me talking to Dan Le Batard a year prior on August 6th before the election on Tim Walz being selected as the VP, Donald Trump, and bad immigration policies. Let's take a
Play to
look.
your strengths. Never talk about immigration. Never bring that up. Joe Biden should have never done the right-wing immigration bill. They should have never capitulated to right-wing framing on immigration. Democrats historically have always done things like this. They always tag to the right, but they always end up losing. They always end up losing because that's their strong suit. That's what they're good at. That's what the Republicans are good at. I don't know why you would, like, if you're LeBron, you don't have to play chess. You could do the dunk competition against like a grandmaster. You know what I mean? I don't understand why Democrats are like, I'm LeBron, one of the greatest athletes of all time, and no, I'm actually going to play chess instead of the dunk competition against the grandmaster like Hikaru or Magnus Carlsen or whatever. It just doesn't make sense.
Can you explain this part to me, though? Because Kamala touted that right-wing immigration bill in Atlanta last week, too. Like, why is it that that seems to be the point that both parties can...
You should have said they should have done a 180 on immigration. No, at that point, it's like far too late. Yeah. I mean, this is 2023.
Anyway, let's talk about the federal government and how much they are flexing the
now, there was a major drop in the number of
migrant crossings. May 19, 2023. I'm over here warning once again. Go all the way back to February of 2021, and you will see me screaming, ringing the alarm bells. Okay? Ringing the alarm bells about how if the Democrats don't actually have a strong response and don't actually try to tackle the immigration human rights crisis that actually is existing at the border at the time by creating a network where they can expeditiously process people and allow them to work freely inside of the U.S. boundary, this is going to be a major issue of consequence because the media will lean into the right-wing immigration panic and the Republicans will advance their right-wing white nativist anti-immigrant agenda. There has never been a moment. There's never been a moment where I haven't advocated for this. Now imagine if the Democrats were also doing this, right? Because at the end of the day, people have the capacity to see right from wrong, okay? A lot of people think the broader public is just far too stupid to recognize this shit, but they're not. Look no further than the issue of Israel and Palestine. Look no further than Israel. In spite of the faucet of misinformation and defense of Israel that came from mainstream outlets, Americans came to the conclusion that Israel was actually doing it and that they shouldn't get unlimited money from the United States government. It's ridiculous. They did that on their own. They did that because there were people who were committed to speaking the truth in spite all odds. Okay? Same goes for immigration. There is no reason There is no reason for the Democrats not to, not to have had a significant response ahead of time.
Agree on. I mean, the stuff with the deportation, it's a bit crazy.
It's very crazy. And Donald Trump is talking about Eisenhower. He's talking about a word I can't say because it's a slur in the aftermath of the Bracero program, where we deported 1.3 million Mexicans from this country, including Mexican Americans, as a matter of fact. Not just people from, not people whose nation of origin is Mexico. We did that. We did that during World War I. We did that in the aftermath of World War II. And Donald Trump's touting that as a popular policy. And it's got like 60% approval right now. And a big part of the reason is because there's no counter messaging against that from the Democratic front. They have completely been captured by the right-wing framing on the matter. And obviously, it's very racist, very fascist. I mean, it's just like straight Nazi Germany stuff. No one is thinking about like what 20 million, let's say there's 20 million migrants in this country that are undocumented. How exactly are you going to do the mass deportation? You're going to start going into brown neighborhoods with BORTAC, with the American Gestapo, Special Weapons and Tactics for the Customs and Border Patrol, in what the ACLU calls Constitution-free zones, and you're going to start doing door-knocking operations and cast a dragnet over brown communities, and then put them in CCOT style, like in El Salvador, like mass detention centers,
down to fucking CCOT, down to CCOT. This is why I get so fucking mad at stupid ass centrism understanders and centrism enjoyers that actively try to make it seem like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. No, it is you that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay, not me, motherfucker. I've been there. That's why I get mad when people go, "Oh, you sound so annoying and condescending." What do you want me to do? I scream about these fucking issues every goddamn day. Every goddamn day of the fucking week. And those who actually encounter this commentary that realize that what I was saying is becoming reality will then become, lifelong fans and are much more agreeable with my worldview. And they realize like, okay, this shit was right. Let's take this stuff more seriously. But there is still a major market out there of people that never show this shit for obvious reasons that just will constantly fucking tweak my words to make it seem like I'm some unserious person. Luckily, for the future of this country, or even for the future of the Democratic Party, the people in positions of power are paying attention and are noticing that this kind of stuff was actually pretty fucking correct, as opposed to the dumb fucks on the internet and the slop tubers. Turns out they're not getting their nose from the fucking slop tubers.
Deportation facilities, you're going to put them in front of one judge, 200 at a time, because there's 20 million people. That's a lot of people, right? You have to make this process as expedient as possible. So now you're putting 200 people at a time in front of a judge that is declaring them to be illegal. Then
due process erosion, CCOT, down to the fucking wire. Every single thing that the Trump administration has attempted so far and is continuing to fucking attempt. I've never stopped screaming about this shit. What happened? So when people say, oh, Hasan, you did not take the Trump threat seriously. No, it was you who didn't take it seriously, you fucking asshole. Because if you did take it seriously, you would have paid attention to what the fuck I was saying there. One of the things that I constantly yelled at the Democrats over, literally in person, like with Ro Khanna at the DNC and the Democrats that would listen to me during the election cycle, was you're not making people imagine what mass deportation looks like. This is a major fucking issue. You need to explain piece by piece exactly how this would take place. You need to explain how dangerous this would be, how awful this would be. You can't just wait until people fucking realize when it's being implemented. At that point, it's far too fucking late. And the example I would use at the time was abortion. Republicans presented a anti-choice, quote unquote, pro-life, pro-life narrative as a viable alternative that would better Americans' lives. And once Roe v. Wade came down and all these red states started rolling back the civil liberties that deny women their bodily autonomy, Republicans very quickly snapped back to reality, right? That had taken place before this fucking election. Everybody thinks they love the Republican agenda until the Republican agenda comes back and bites them in the fucking ass. And then they experience buyer's remorse. And we do this every fucking cycle. I hate it. I hate it so much. But a part of the reason why we do this every fucking cycle and we play the song and dance every goddamn election cycle is because the Democrats don't have a robust response to the Republican bullshit. Republicans campaign year round. Democrats barely campaign every election cycle. It's ridiculous. Republicans have a vision. It's an evil one, but they have a vision nonetheless. Democrats do not. Do you understand? And that's a problem. Republicans have an agenda. They have a unifying principle. Okay, for the culture related things or for the social policy making, it's white supremacy. It's reactionary politics. For the economic agenda, it's deregulation and tax cuts for the wealthy. But they will constantly advance that agenda. They will constantly propagandize at the behest of this agenda. They will constantly lie. They will cheat. They will steal. They will tell you this is actually the best way to fix the economic hardships that people are fucking experiencing. Democrats don't have a similar unifying principle that they can move in the direction of. They have no North Star. And because they're undefinable by policies, they get defined by their opposition. And then they constantly are playing two steps behind, constantly fearful, constantly playing the defense. And even worse than that, then they turn around and concede on the opposition's framing on issues that they do not need to concede on at all, because these are manufactured hysteria campaigns. It is utterly ridiculous. And not only is it ridiculous, it's dangerous. Okay? It's dangerous because it allows the Republicans to win. It allows the Republicans to win, and it allows the Republicans to conduct their incredibly dangerous fucking agenda. Their incredibly damaging agenda. Their incredibly violent agenda. This is what I want to avoid. That's why I famously did the fucking whisper rant at the DNC where I was like, Democrats seem to love Republicans. They want to be Republicans. They want to hug Republicans. They want to kiss Republicans. I don't. Okay? I hate the Republicans. I hate the Republican Party. Thank you. I hate the Republican Party with all of my fucking heart. And that means that there's no quarters for the Democrats who will lean into reactionary sentiment either. That's it. Compromise for the sake of compromise. Bipartisanship for the sake of bipartisanship. For a politics that never really existed and one that certainly doesn't exist at all right now. A lot of you might have even forgotten that used to be the thing that the Democrats love talking about. Oh, well, compromise. Oh, why can't we go back to a good type of politics where the Republicans were honest? They never were. They were always fucking liars. They've just gotten better at lying over time because you got worse at addressing those lies. Feel me? What'd you get us today? Teriyaki chicken.